All right. So in today's video, we're going to be going over the new and updated JSON No Code Connector and how it allows you to bring in a lot more data into Domo than before. We're going to be leveraging some of the undocumented Domo public APIs to bring in details about our card metadata. So to begin, this project initially I was trying to figure out. I was using the governance data set, and I wanted to find what the chart types are for all of the cards in my instance, and I wasn't able to do that right here. Like it's a great data set, but it doesn't show what the chart types are. And so we are going to be using this new and updated JSON No Code connector that lets you do a lot more. In this case, we needed to do a two-step process with our API. We need to get all the card IDs, and then we need to loop through those card IDs with a dynamic parameter passed. And so this is a really cool interface. I'm excited to show you guys what this is all about. And the end result that we're going to get is if we come over here, we now have a Domo Stats data set. And if I come in here, I can type in chart, and now we have all the chart types. We can figure out what the chart types are for all the cards in our instance. So let's get started. The first thing that I want to show you is we have here a list of all the different APIs that you can hit in Domo. This was all documented by Jay Wilson over on Data Crew. And basically, if we come over here to the card section, there is an API called Get Card Metadata by ID. And in this API, basically you pass the ID of the card, and then it'll bring back this payload of really helpful stuff, right? So in this case, like we can get all sorts of things about the card, who made it. We can get, in this case, the chart type, which is what I was interested in. And so we're going to be using this API along with the new connector. But yeah, let's go ahead and connect this. So first I'm going to come over here to my connector. And in this case, we are going to add the endpoint. So let's come back here, and I'm going to copy over this. So we'll copy over this beginning part and paste it in. And in this case, in double curly braces means it's a variable. So this is just the name of our Domo instance, which I can find up in the URL. So I'm just going to type that in real quick, domo-community. And this is where the fun begins, right? So in this case, before we didn't have these options on the no code connector, now we do. So in this case, a dynamic parameter is going to allow us to loop through the card IDs in our instance. And so in this case, the key is called URN. So I'll copy that over, put that as the parameter key. And I want to use the values from an existing data set. And so in this case, I have a data set here called from the Domo stats called card pages, and it has all the card IDs and the page IDs associated with those cards. So I'm just going to use this card ID column. And so we'll just type in, let's see, card pages, type that in, and it'll let us select the column that we're going to loop through. And so we'll go card IDs, right? So in this case, with it's going to loop through every single card in our instance, and it's going to be hitting this API right here. And then we can also add a couple other, in this case, let's add the other parameters here. And so I'll just go do that real quick. So in this case, there's just a couple other parameters you can add. This API can bring back a lot of stuff, right? So in this case, you can add these as a comma separated list over in the connector. So I have a couple of extra query parameters on here. And one other thing to highlight that I forgot is when you're working with this Domo, the private API, you have to add a header here that says, let's see, I think it was content type. And it's application.json. And that, again, yeah, it just lets you know, it lets it know what the payload's going to be. Let's see, actually, I think this is a GET request too. Let's do a GET request, and let's go on. And now let's go to parsing. And in this case, right, if you've used the connector before, you can see this is how you can parse through it. And so I'm just going to do this really quickly. So in this case here, I've unnested a couple things, right? There's a couple nested objects in here, and you can unnest them as columns or as rows. And so in this case, I unnested them as columns, and there was a part called metadata that I think if we run the connector, it'll probably make a little more sense. So now let's just run this connector real quick, and we'll just have this be manual, click next, and we'll just call this Domo stats card metadata, and we'll click save and run. This will probably take a couple minutes. We have around like 4,000 cards in this instance, so it's going to loop through each one of them. So let's just wait a couple minutes. And so this is what the end result will be, right? In this case, we have a new data set, and on here, Like I said, you can play around with how much you want to unnest, but in this case, right, with my use case, I just wanted to find out what the chart types are, and so now I have something that I can join up with my Domo governance data set or my Domo stats to figure out, oh, stacked bar is a very popular data set, but let's say I wanted to see who's using our waffle data set, right? I could apply it here, and then figure out which people, type in owner. I can see who owns some of those data sets. So anyway, hope you found this helpful. I think for me, like I said, the new JSON No Code is a really powerful connector. It can help you in a pinch. It's a good band-aid, as well as these Domo, these Domo APIs here. Most likely there's an API for something that you want to do to script against. And if you want to automate something in your Domo instance, there's probably an API for it. So I'll also link this in the video. So hope you found this helpful. Thanks.